This week's vocabulary list is going to cover parts of speech, specifically looking at pronouns. If you've not studied this in a while, or you've not studied at all, you may find this week's list to be a little bit more difficult than some we've covered in the past. And that's totally okay. I just advise doing some practice, preparation, etc. before you have to take a test over this information. Let's get to term number 1. That term is noun, which is probably a review for you, but we're going to go over it anyway. A noun is a word that names something, such as a person, place, thing, or idea. In a sentence, nouns can play the role of a subject, direct object, indirect object, subject complement, object complement, a positive, or adjective. You also need to know the difference between a proper noun and a common noun. A proper noun names a specific person, place, or thing and is always capitalized. For example, in a sentence I may say, "Does Tina have much homework to do this evening?" Tina is the proper noun because I'm naming a specific person. You can see that we're building up into this content with term number 2. We're looking at what a pronoun is. So the more general term of a pronoun is a word that stands in for a noun, often to avoid the need to repeat the same noun over and over and over again. Like nouns, pronouns can refer to people, things, concepts, and places. Most sentences contain at least one noun or pronoun. I think more than anything, looking at examples helps in this case. So if you look at the examples at the bottom, I asked her if the headphones were hers, but she said they belonged to someone else. All those words that are in bold would qualify as pronouns. The next sentence, "It might rain tomorrow, but there isn't much we can do about that." Same thing, if they're in bold, they're pronouns. Let's move to term number 3. Term number 3 discusses pronoun case. Case refers to the way a noun or pronoun is used in a sentence. When it is the subject of a verb, it is in the subjective case, which is also called the nominative case. When it is the object of a verb or a preposition, it is in the objective case. When it possesses something, it is in the possessive case. And obviously, you may not know what all those mean, but we're going to break apart what each of those refers to. Just know pronoun case refers to subjective case, objective case, and possessive case, and then we can go from there. Term number 4 for this week is going to be subjective case, as we just mentioned under pronoun case. Subjective case means pronouns used as a subject in a sentence. So if you see the kind of table that we have on the right, pronouns as subject, you have I, you, he, she, it, we, they, and who. Those are going to be subjects. They're the subjective case. And while I specifically just highlighted the term and the definition, subjective case, pronouns used as a subject, it's probably really going to help you in this category to actually write that table down and write the examples as pronouns as subjects for study material. Let's move to term number 5, objective case. Objective case refers to pronouns used as objects of verbs or prepositions. You can see our chart there on the right side: me, you, him, her, it, us, them, whom. This is another example of pronoun case, this one being objective case, and remember that it's used as objects of verbs or prepositions. And rounding out with our third one of those would be number 6, possessive case. Possessive case refers to pronouns which express ownership. They express possession, as in you having that or owning it. Pronouns that show possession: my as in mine, your as in yours, his, her, hers, it, its, our, ours, their, theirs, and whose. You're asking or you're showing that somebody has something. Switching gears just a little bit, we have term number 7, antecedent. Discussing the antecedent with our definition. In grammar vocabulary, the antecedent is the word, phrase, or clause that a pronoun can replace. Again, it helps to look at examples. We say Adeline bit her lip. Adeline equals the antecedent. Her equals the personal pronoun. If we go down below that, our carnivorous friends will not attend the picnic because they despise tofu hot dogs and black bean burgers. We say friends is the antecedent. They would be the personal pronoun. We're using they to refer to the friends, so that we're not just saying friends over and over and over again. So friends is the antecedent. Term number 8 is going to be an intensive pronoun. Discussing the definition for number 8, we look and see that an intensive pronoun is a pronoun that refers back to the subject of a sentence in order to emphasize it. You can see that we have a lot of information here, and you probably want to review and digest it. For example, the pronoun himself is an intensive pronoun in the sentence, "The detective himself was the culprit." The pronoun himself refers back to the subject, the detective, in order to add emphasis. By using an intensive pronoun, the sentence highlights how unexpected it is that a detective who is supposedly investigating a crime is actually the criminal. An intensive pronoun often immediately follows the noun or pronoun it refers to, but this isn't always the case. The absolute best way to probably start with this is to look at the box on the bottom right-hand corner. It says that the intensive or reflexive pronouns include myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. What's the common line there? It's the end of the word. It says an intensive pronoun is defined as a pronoun that ends in self or selves and places emphasis on its antecedent. Term number 9, reflexive pronoun, kind of complicates that a little bit. Reflexive and intensive are tied together inextricably, and we'll discuss why. These pronouns refer to the subject of a sentence and direct the action of a verb. The difference between an intensive and a reflexive pronoun is that reflexive pronouns cannot be omitted or removed from the sentence without altering the meaning of the sentence. You can remove an intensive one, and if the sentence still makes sense, then you can tell that it's intensive. A reflexive one, if you remove it from the sentence, it's going to become a disaster. Let's look at some examples. The example would be, Bobby wrote herself a note. Herself is reflexive. It tells to whom Bobby wrote the note. All by itself, the bloodhound tracked the escaped convict. Itself is the object of the preposition by. If you remove the word itself, the sentence reads, all by the bloodhound tracked the escaped convict. It ends up not making any sense whatsoever. This is a list of reflexive and intensive pronouns below if you want to write those down, and then just remembering what differentiates them will help you with questions. Term number 10 to round out our list is going to be a vague pronoun. If you know what vague means, it might help you a little bit. A vague pronoun might include words such as it, that, this, and which, and can leave the reader wondering what or to whom the pronoun refers. You're not quite sure, the pronoun is too vague, it doesn't give enough information. This is another one to which looking at examples really helps. An incorrect example would be, Molly hit Susan, and she started crying. She is your pronoun. Nonetheless, the reader is confused about who started crying. We say Molly hit Susan and she started crying. We don't really know if Molly hit Susan and then started crying because she hit somebody else and felt bad, or if Susan started crying because she got hit. We can probably guess, but it doesn't really come out and state it clearly, and thus the sentence is kind of broken. To clarify that, or to make it correct, would be to say something like, Molly hit Susan and Susan started crying. Another incorrect example would be, Jan thumped her foot on the chair and it turned red. It is your pronoun, but once again the reader cannot tell if the antecedent is the foot or the chair. We don't know if when Jan thumped her foot on the chair, her foot turned red, or if the chair magically turned red. Again, we can probably guess that it was her foot, but the sentence still comes off like it could go either way. The correct way to do it would be Jan thumped her foot on the chair, and Jan's foot turned red. It's clear and it clarifies things instead of being too vague. My favorite example is, if the children do not eat the rest of the string beans, please throw them away. Them is your pronoun, however, what is being thrown away? Are we throwing away leftover string beans, or are we throwing away children who are not eating their food? Correct answer would be, if the children do not eat the rest of the string beans, please throw the beans away. Hopefully that helps with vague pronouns, and hopefully that helps with this list as a whole. Going back and looking at the examples, the charts that go along with each of these terms and definitions is going to help you this week more than probably any other week we've had. Good luck, and do your best.